Welcome back to the Real Freedom Channel. In this episode, we're going to talk about a topic that's near and dear to almost every entrepreneur I know's heart, and that is leveling up. Now, leveling up could be setting up your business and getting your very first deal. Leveling up could be, hey, I did 100 deals last year. I want to do 150 deals this year. It can mean something a little bit different for everyone, but entrepreneurs all set up their businesses because they wanted to chart the course. They wanted to set the pace, set the tone, and set the direction, something that they often didn't have in a corporate career. So in leveling up, it's also important to understand that your business is a lot like an organic being, and that is you're either growing or you're dying. With all the systems, processes, and dynamic things we have happening, it's very difficult to remain static and just maintain a steady pace of business. If you try to do that, you're typically going to see decline in one area that'll kind of spread to the other. The Japanese had this figured out, and they call it Kaizen, which simply means the spirit of continuous improvement. So if we're continuously making an effort to grow and improve, our business tends to be healthy and we tend to be engaged, and all the team members are involved in the growth of the business as opposed to just trying to maintain. That almost never works out very well in running in a maintenance mode. So in our third episode of our discussion with Dylan Tanaka, he's going to discuss leveling up his business, and he's also going to share what he calls his dirty secret. So hope you enjoy tuning in. Enjoy our episode with Dylan Tanaka, and we're going to jump into that right now.
I'll teach you a dirty trick. So I'm a big gift giver, which costs me money and doesn't put money in my pocket. I mean, you've gotten stuff, nothing major, but sent to your house from me, right? So I skip traced you. I found your address. That didn't come from everybody thinks that I go to a certain person. We all know her name starts with an H. I've only gotten one address from her ever. So I found your guys' address, just sent you something cute. But my point is, with my private lenders, I of course do stuff with them. If I've got 500 or a million or 200, this is real money, right? It could be their whole life savings, or they could be gazillionaires. It doesn't matter. They're trusting you. So I always sent big gifts, big family gifts at Thanksgiving, because at Christmas, especially with people who have money, or during whatever holiday that person, chooses to celebrate, there's too much commotion going on, right? So I'd always send a big gift at Thanksgiving. And I would usually, these are guys I talk to, ladies I talk to, right? So I'm like, hey, what are you doing for Thanksgiving? Because I got to talk to them at least monthly. Well, we're having it at our house this year. I'm like, okay. So I'd go spend 500 or $1,000, depending how much money they had with me. And I'd put a big send them a big centerpiece with his, it's all holiday looking. Send some expensive wine, send the guys some cigars, some booze if they like to drink, maybe some steaks, the Omaha steaks, all that kind of stuff. But I would always overdo it, because people with money, James, I mean, no offense, you and I aren't rich, but we're rich in our hearts. So we hang out with other people who are rich in their hearts too. But people who, money begets money, right? So guys who have lendable funds, when their brother-in-law's like, Hey, dude, how'd you get that $300 bottle of whiskey? And why are we just smoking $30 Cubans? And he's like, my buddy Dylan. Yeah. But I thought you just did this and this with him, or because they don't always tell everybody what they do with you, because if something goes wrong, they're going to look stupid. And I know this for a fact that they'll hide it. And they're like, well, we're kind of doing some real estate deals together. We kind of partner. Because I teach them all, we're partners. Whether you're getting 7, 8, 9% or half the deal, nobody gets half my deals, but not from a lending standpoint. But we're partners. So if this brother-in-law is like, really, I got 200-300 I could lend. You're getting 8%. You don't have to do anything. No, you know what? I'll drive you by the house next week. Let's go have a beer, whatever it is. Right. Yeah, that's the house I lent money on. And I'm not only doing that because I want to get other money, and it's only worked a few times, but now the whole family sees that not only do I do what I say, do it quicker than I say, but they're getting gifts. They can show it off to their family. They feel good about it. I've sent 600, 7, odd numbers, but I've sent $5,000 or $1,000 gift certificates for really expensive restaurants. In Michigan, that's an expensive restaurant. But when that the big guy doesn't need a G in his hand. He can just like throw it out there, right? He can just hand it right back to me and go, I don't need your $1,000. But if I go and get a gift certificate to a beautiful, special place, he's going to take his kids and his son-in-laws and daughter-in-laws, grandkids, wife, right? Who paid for this thing? He's going to tell them. So now when those little bad guys come in his ear and whisper and go, hey, father-in-law, I need 300 grand to buy my own house. He's like, no. I'm doing deals with Dylan and I'm making money.
Yeah.
Right? Because not only do you need, this is something, again, me being wise for my age, when you gain a client or a customer, a partner, you're not with them forever. It's like you've been married for a long time, right? Basically. Well, you got to work on that. You don't just get married and they're locked in forever. So you got to keep working on that. And the same thing with business relationships. I don't care if it is private money. My wholesale buyers, nobody gives t-shirts in the mail or expensive water bottles or crazy things or gift cards like I give to my guys. Because if I make 10 or 15 grand doing a wholesale deal or a partner deal or some kind of a weird flip, no one else does that stuff, but I do it. Again, being relationship focused. Because now when James comes around and talks to my main wholesale buyer and goes, hey man, I got a deal. And I talked to him the day before, he's going to go, wait a minute, I better call Dylan quick because I only got 100. So I got to pick one of these. He's going to pick me almost every time, or at least he'll give me the courtesy to call me. Because in today's world, money's money, business is business. But if you can get in and show them that you're thinking about them, even if you do, just send me a Christmas card. You at least thought about me for 30 seconds. And that means a lot today because nobody cares. This is what I teach sellers all the time. Because when you sit with a tough seller, and you do it all the time, James, and you hear this, I don't want to say sob stories. Let's just say hear the sad stories, because sometimes life happens and it's not their fault. There's acts of God, whatever it is. Nobody cares about their whininess because only our mommy, even our dads don't care. They're like, shut up, kid, go climb a tree and fall out again. Only our mommies care. And once we get to a certain age, our mommies don't even want to hear it. So when we listen and we actually hear what people say and we show that to them, we can't be super sympathetic, but we can let them know that we heard what they talked about. It changes everything. And not just on the negative side, but on the positive side too. You're talking about doing certain things with this podcast or what you want to do. And I know I have connections where I can help you or even just give you ideas. And where's that going to get me? Who knows? But that's what friendship is. And the more friends you have in business, the further you're going to get. The most successful people you and I know are the most connected people. When we were at Investor Fuel 2 months ago, Trevor Mock from Carrot was on stage, right? And he talked about one book with one of the most successful members of our group. And it's the who, not how, right? So it's Dan Sullivan, the guy who does Strategic Coach, but who, not how. And if you listen to that book, there's not one concept in there that you don't, and I don't already know and maybe live by, but it's good to get that, have that put back into our heads. And all they talk about is who can help you with this instead of how are you going to do it yourself? Can you buy a program? Can you hire somebody? Can you know what I mean? Is there a contractor? When you first started and I first started, I used to demo my own houses. I used to paint my own houses. I used to pick up all my own materials. I paid the guys by hand. Like I was Mr. Home Depot, 2015 or whatever. Forget about all that. You're never going to get to the next level.
That's right.
If you don't figure out how to do those other things. And that comes from guys, again, who are light years past me in business. So I try to take their wisdom and plant it and then hopefully grow my own wisdom in the future.
Well, that's another key concept and something that, I learned from Mike Hambright. And kind of early on, he said, look, you got to, you don't want to just trade a job for a job where, you own the business because it's still a job. You have to decide, do you want just to have a high paying job or do you want to be a business owner? And, what you just hit on, when you're, building a business, it's a little different. You're building something that eventually can kind of run on its own with, your management and oversight. You're not the one out there loading up the truck with tile and doing the demo and, running the dump trailer to the dump to, get rid of the drywall waste. It's, you're using, crews, teams, partners to do those things. And, you're operating as a business owner would. A CEO of a company probably rarely does anything to do with what that company is there to do, right? The CEO is there to keep it on the rails.
They barely go to the bathroom by themselves, right?
Right. And so, you're talking about, being a CEO and having that mindset. And, Trevor Mock is a great example of that, in that he's really built, a huge successful business that, had he come to me with his business plan, he was getting started, I'd have thought, hey, that sounds really nice. But I would have had no idea that he could have grown it to the level that he has. And that's another thing that, I've enjoyed, of getting to be around people a lot more successful, is when you learn, what do they read? What's been meaningful to them?
Right.
Those things have really helped me more than the actual whatever was said at that time. Because then if, like, hey, somebody that's really successful reads this book and got a lot of value out of it, well, then now we're getting into mindset, and I can kind of transplant mindset in a way that, they can't do in a 45-minute presentation on stage.
Right. And we're not taught that, you and I went to school a long time ago. Things can be different. Maybe there's kind of a new age thing happening if you put your kids in special schools.
Right.
But that's not something that we're taught as Americans. That's why when immigrants come here, a lot of times, sound like I said immigrant. When immigrants come here, they take over because they have a different work ethic, and they look at the opportunity we don't see. And even us as entrepreneurs, we look at our friends, family, old work friends. Nobody wants to talk to me anymore from my old life. I'll tell you that.
Right.
They think that I'm arrogant. And I'm like, dude, we're going to do a 3-hour podcast from beginning to end by the time we talk before, talk after, and actually record. Like, I'm not getting anything for this. Neither are you. I'm not arrogant. I love real estate, entrepreneurship, building businesses. You just want to talk about the Detroit Lions. Come on, we can all laugh, right? We got to put a laugh track in on that, but it's okay to like that stuff. Or we talked about, if you want to do the demo, if you like doing that, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're aspiring to do more, you have to learn how to step out of that and kind of like put your Superman suit on. And I think, again, that's a big thing when you talk about Trevor, right? So we're lucky enough to spend a little bit of time with him, every couple of years or every year or so, maybe more often, but he's younger than me. So I look at him and I'm like, okay, because, you don't have to equate age with success, but I do that again, because I'm just old school. And his humility, we're walking to lunch and he's like, hey, like, he knows my name. Sure, I'm a customer of Carrot's, big deal. I pay $1,000 a year for a website. There's a lot of customers of Carrot. He remembers me. That means a lot to me, because Trevor is relationship focused first. Of course, he has to do business, but he takes that second to look you in the eyes, right? And with me at Investor Fuel, there's a couple people, I won't mention them, but their first meetings, it's very daunting for some people to walk into a room. There's 100 guys and girls, and there's more guys than girls, let's be honest. And they're all puffing their chests out. So we think, walking into that room, talk about how many deals they're doing. I made this much money this month. And then here's James and Kevin and Dylan, 3 big giant goofballs taking selfies together, acting silly. Those new people aren't going to walk into that. They may, but generally they're not going to walk into that pile of guys, right?
No.
So I've learned to be welcoming with them, say goodbye. Like, I spend less time with you guys than I used to, because I'm not talking to somebody more important. I'm talking to new people because I want to build relationships with them, so that instead of the 3 of us with Mike, right, the 4 amigos, now we have the 5 amigos. And I've met newer people who I spent time with at one evening, just listening and talking to them and, explaining to them like what our fuel family is all about. And this isn't a commercial for Investor Fuel. I tell people this all the time. I started building masterminds long before, not before I was in real estate, but right about when I started. These were not paid masterminds. These were myself, other business owners who weren't in real estate, where we could put a problem in the middle of the table and each guy got 15 minutes to solve it. I didn't know what that was called. That's just what we did. So I was masterminding all those years ago. So I love to be able to give like that. And I've learned, again, from wiser people than me, watching how someone like Trevor takes questions and answers them, or listening to other guys' podcasts, or, you mentioned Mike or other people. They don't even have to be ultra successful. I think you can be successful here. And that doesn't mean that you're successful here, but if you're happy in life, then, what else do you need?
Well, and those two tend to go together, don't they? I mean, I've met people that are miserable with what they do, but they're very successful. But if that's where you're at, you don't stay successful for long, because either it's going to grind you down, or you're going to quit it because you hate it. And, every time, when you own a company, you just have like really great and really bad days, right? It's part of entrepreneurship. I think that's part of the attraction of it. But at those really tough times, Christine and I, talk about it, and we have to remind ourselves, you know what? We really love what we do. we say this is about, our business is about real estate, but it's really not. We're kind of a marketing company. We're kind of a sales company. We're, kind of uh, you know, a, an operations company. We do a lot of different things, and it's real estate, but we could be in the car business, right? Buying cars at a discount and selling those for a profit. The X's and O's and the loving the people and the team, that's what makes you successful. And it's also, in my opinion, that's what makes it fun for you. Like, we've got an amazing team. I absolutely, feel great about everyone on my team. I love, spending time with them, and, they all work hard. Everybody wants it at least as much as I do, which is kind of a key at our company. And, that inspires me. That fires me up in a way that, you know, I might have had a nice salary, or, et cetera, in various corporate jobs before, but I was never like inspired. It's just like, hey, this is a great gig, and I'm good at it, and I make money, so I go do it. Now we get up every day, and it's like, no matter how much money we had, if we made just enough to meet overhead and cover it by $1, we still feel, kind of rich, inside, to your point, Dylan, because we love what we do.
Yeah, and inspiration comes in many different forms. And I think if you're an entrepreneur and it's hard for you to work corporately, and I could do whatever I needed to do long before, I had a child who I had to provide for. If I got to dig ditches, if I got to get on a roof, if I have to paint a house, whatever I have to do, I can do. I can go door to door, I can cut grass, right?
Yeah.
But I've found that as a relationship focused person, because that's what I am, that's how I've made friends before real estate, during, and forever, because I'm never getting out of real estate. But to me, that's the big deal. I've got somebody who I'm an accountability kind of mentor for, not really partner with. And I send him a text every morning at 6:30 a.m. because he's working on getting up earlier. And you kind of know, like, I'm a little weird. So I'm like a 4:30 a.m. guy. Sometimes I don't get up till 6, but about 3 days a week, I'm up at 4:30 because I'm doing a lot of stuff. So there's certain times I have to work on certain things,
Yep.
But he knows that, right? So that bond, it's really weird. We've only been doing this for 6 months, and we've tried to do business a couple different ways. And there's something specific I'm trying to get him involved in. And I know that he's going to watch this. And I know that I'm reeling him in because I'm showing him that, unlike everybody else, I'm getting nothing. I'm not getting nothing from texting him. And when you write, it helps you too, right? When you're like journaling or writing a book. So when I write him those texts, it inspires me, because it's not just motivation. There's some other things involved, but nobody else is going to do that for him. And I'm showing him that when I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm not only going to do it, I'm going to do it annoyingly. So I'm here if you want me. You know what I mean? So if you want to be in, the pool's over this way. So I love being able to build those relationships like that, because again, at some point, something big comes up. The subdivision that I'm involved in, retail, is about $11 million project. So there's guys right now who are laughing, going, this guy, $11 million is a booger on my finger, right? Honestly. Right. And other new guys I talk to, and even like you and like Kevin, when you guys are like, man, that's so huge, I almost feel like, I don't want to say shy, but I'm almost embarrassed. And I'm like, it's really not that big of a deal. It was right place, right time. And because I kind of set some other dominoes up, it worked. But it's like, I don't know what's next, but that became a big deal. And it's because I was just there, and I was just putting in and not taking out. And then finally something big came out, and that same thing happens when you work and build relationships. Some of the guys and girls that we're friends with at Investor Fuel, you've had people stay the night at the house with you and your wife, right? When they come into town, who knows what's going to come out of that? Maybe nothing. Because I've tried to build, I've tried to start a zillion different ideas and businesses. I have 20 going on right now in my mind, right? Open loops. But when you're thinking that way and you surround yourself with other people who are thinking the same way, all of a sudden, and that's the true, like, it's fusion, right? That's what the true mastermind principle is. All of a sudden, that beam of light that comes out of those 8 people is not 8, it's 800. Because it all just worked together, and you cannot exponentially, most people can't exponentially do that on their own. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Albert Einstein, right? But even like Edison and those guys, they talk about Tesla, and like, he's the one who really did he was the genius, right? But he just stole it all. So it's like, or Henry Ford, right? How many workers did he have to make what he created? But when you have that ability to build relationships like that and get together with people, big things can happen. And without that, it's much harder because you can't do it all at once. You look at the big deals, the guys that we know that we're close with, how they're getting in these bigger deals. They're not getting 100% of a big deal, right? It's the
Nope.
whole, do you want 1% of a watermelon or 100% of a grape?
Right.
Depends. If you want 100% of a grape, I'm good with that. If you just want to demo and take stuff to the dump in your dump trailer, God bless you. If you're
Right.
happy with that, get one fishing pole. I'm nuts, right? And I want a fleet so that when
Same.
I'm 60 or 70, I can have my one fishing pole. You know that
Yep.
old story, right?
Right.
But it's what juices you up in the middle. And I want to affect from me down as many people as I can in a positive way. And I want to change their lives, because in the end, that's all you got. You know, I want my kid to be good and healthy and all that stuff. But I also want to sweep through and have people like, yep, you know, if I went out today, and I lost a friend yesterday, which was crazy. I haven't talked to him in a little while, but he wasn't much older than me, and he had some heart problems and all this stuff.
Mhm.
And it made me think a little bit. And I'm like, holy cow, man, what if this happened to me today? Like, what would they say? I got a lot of friends on Facebook, but what would my real friends say? I better start thinking more about that, you know,
Right.
because, and James, like you're a year or two older than me. So, you know, I mean, you can lose people at any age, but as we get older, it happens more often. And there's more people in their 30s and 40s and 50s that you see this happening to. And you're like, hey, I'm older than them. How did that happen? You know?
Right.
So, especially with social media, because we see more of kind of the negative stuff, which is one bad thing. But, you know, our spider web got bigger. We see people from high school and all that baloney, you know, but I think you got to take those relationships, build on them. And if you can learn how to do that, you can be rich, whether you're rich in your pocket or just rich in your heart.
Well, if you're feeling a little bit led along that, hey, that dirty little secret wasn't really much of a secret, might want to rethink that. The act of being appreciative, of gift giving, of sometimes just what we say and what we do, it's something that we all know, but something very few of us actually do in practice. The better you get at executing on that, the more remarkable your business is going to be. And we're always looking for opportunities to underpromise and overdeliver. So it really is more of a secret than it might seem. I've seen countless situations where people will read a book about performance improvement, or they'll go to a Tony Robbins seminar and they'll say, you know, I kind of heard everything before, or I'd read all that before, and there's nothing really interesting about it. Well, the idea of being mindful and saying, okay, I want to improve, that's kind of the magic. So that's really more of a secret than you might think. It's not as if nobody else knows it, just other people don't do it. So that's the secret. We hope you've enjoyed this third installment of our interview with Dylan. Tune in next week for the final part of that interview, and you're going to get a lot out of that as well. If in the meantime you're enjoying what you see, please give us a like. Let us know how we're doing, add comments, click on that red subscribe button, and turn on notifications so that you'll know as soon as we post new content that you can utilize to grow and succeed in your business. Until next time, thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon.